Thank you to the sponsors of this episode, BulawayoGroceries.com. So yes, guys, if you want to buy groceries for people in Zim, you can just go on BulawayoGroceries.com. I hope they have a mask.
Do you know, I looked, they don't, I didn't see, but I definitely saw it though.
Okay. Okay, guys, welcome to Girls Guys podcast with me, Nat.
And Xolie.
And we have a very special guest today, Xolie. But before I introduce my guest, Xolie, you know, have you ever owed someone money, right? And then you meet them before you give them the money back?
No.
No?
I hate owing people money. And I hate that. If you because you're scared that you're going to bump into them, and then you owe that person £10, and they're like, "Oh, so you've got enough money to buy bread, but
exactly
to pay me back my money."
And they
eating the bread when you owe me money.
The audacity.
Exactly. So in this case, no, it is not money, but I owe our lovely guest something. So this is the situation that.
What do you owe her?
I don't know. I don't think I'm at liberty to say.
Oh.
She can say if she wants. No, it's something that I owe her, a piece of work that I owe her. So,
It's not money.
No, it is not money. I just use that as an example so that when people are watching and listening to this, they understand. You know, just the little the little shame I'm feeling.
Oh, how it was hard for us to finally report this because you thought you would give me back my money before.
Don't keep saying money.
Speak your pieces. Speak from the heart. Yeah. Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Girls Guys podcast. Our episode today is sponsored by BulawayoGroceries.com. If you are in the diaspora, I'm talking Middle East, if you're in United States of America, if you're in United Kingdom, if you are in Australia, Canada, and you're looking to purchase some groceries for your family or friends back in Zimbabwe, log on to BulawayoGroceries.com. BulawayoGroceries.com have been in operation since 2006. They have their payment system is linked to PayPal and therefore accept all major bank and credit cards. They cover every major area in Zimbabwe and take 2 working days to deliver goods, whilst out of town goods will be delivered within a week. So log on today to BulawayoGroceries.com for your hassle-free shopping for your friends and your family.
Yes. No, so we've got Notty joining us today. So thank you so much, Notty. So basically, I think it feels like it's been a while now. About 2 months or so ago, we were all into Insecure, watching Insecure. So those of you who don't know, Insecure is this show with Issa Rae, and it really follows a group of friends and it really shows the journeys of young women, late 20s, 30s. One of the characters in the show, Tiffany, was pregnant and then she had a child. And throughout the last season, a lot of us who were watching it were picking up on little things about that character that was a bit different. So she just had the baby, and if those of you who've watched Insecure will know that Tiffany was really kind of like your Stepford wife type of person, all about her looks and everything. But throughout the season, we were seeing subtle things of, her not really keeping up with her appearance and just her seeing looking spaced out. And at the end, so to fast forward, there's an incident where she disappears really, and they're looking for her, and it really highlighted postnatal depression. So it was interesting because as the season went on, a lot of people were picking up and saying, what's happening? Is this postnatal depression? What's up with Tiffany's character? And then it then sort of followed up and we had a conversation online on Twitter where we were sort of just talking about postnatal depression and the fact that, you know, a lot of us, me included, you know the term, but we don't really know like what it means. One of the things that highlighted to me was with that example of the show that I've given, it was the subtle things that showed that things were not okay. But in my mind, probably I thought like postnatal depression, postpartum depression was, you know, someone having like a big breakdown and something that you could point at and be like, okay, this is postnatal, postpartum depression. And another thing is, those of us who've, I mean, it doesn't have to be social media, but, you know, you see these cute babies on the timeline, on Twitter, on Instagram. It feels like there's a conspiracy of like cute babies, and you're like, oh my God, this is so cute. But I guess it doesn't necessarily tell the full story of people's experiences. So what we're really hoping today is just to have a conversation about that, to learn, and hopefully, yeah, just have a conversation about that, maybe parenting as well, and maybe we'll have some fun at the end. So, Notty, thank you so much for like joining us. So, guys,
Thank you for having me, guys.
so Xolie and Notty, you guys are moms. So I'm just throwing it out there. So it doesn't have to be about like Tiffany's character in Insecure, but just like postnatal depression, what is it? Because we may assume that people really know what it is.
Go for it, Notty.
Okay. Obviously, guys, I'm not an expert because I'm not a doctor or a psychologist whatsoever. But just sharing as a mom and from my experience with motherhood, I think it's just, I don't want to call it the motherhood blues, because people say it's more than that. But because of lack of a better or medical term for it, I think it's just the highs and lows just after giving birth. Because when you have a child, you know, your life totally changes, like absolutely, you know. So I think it's just that navigation of motherhood as you start off as a mom, kind of like not knowing what you're doing, and that element of maybe lack of support or just the insecurities that come with it, to say, what am I even doing? Am I being a good mom? And just those feelings of being down at times, to say, okay, you're just panicking. You know, you've got this precious human being that you love so much, but you're overwhelmed to say, okay, am I being a good mom? Am I doing this right? So I think it's just a cocktail of emotions. Yeah.
How old is your little one?
She's 3 years now. Sound cool, guys.
Well done. So like for you, obviously you can share as, you know, as much as you're comfortable sharing. Like what has been your experience, or what was your experience? Just that journey, being a mom.
I think for me, it was like I've said earlier, it was just a cocktail of, you know, emotions, mixed with culture shock, because we relocated to the UK just when I was about to give birth. And it was that whole new experience of, you relocated to a new continent, moreover, and here I am with a new baby. And I was kind of like comparing a lot, that if I had been back home, I would have been with my mom, you know. The lifestyle here is very different. People are very individualistic. So there I was, my husband had started a new job, he couldn't take paternity leave, so it was just me and my daughter. And to be honest, I felt like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, you know. Am I being a good mom? So it was more of, I was really panicking a lot. And the fact that I didn't have my mom or my aunts around to help me. Of course, I had my sister, but who lives in London, and she couldn't be there for me like every day in terms of helping me out with my daughter. So that experience of culture shock, you just moved to a new country, and you just expected people to be there to help you, but that's not how people live here. So I think I was comparing a lot with back home, that maybe if I was back home, my experience would have been different. I would be having someone to help me with my daughter. But then now when I look back in hindsight, I feel like, oh my goodness, you know, it brought out the strength in me that I never ever knew I had. Because most of the time I know people always say, hey, when you're depressed, seek counseling, do this and that. But, you know, circumstances differ. And for me, it was really more of I had to take it out of myself to say, okay, you know what? No one is going to save me. I need to save myself. And also the love you have for your child, you know, it also comes in to save you. So I really prayed a lot. And it was just like, I need to take measures of how can I take care of myself. And I think I took a break. I think I took a social media break. I'm like, you know what? I need to concentrate on me. I need to concentrate on my daughter. I need to concentrate on our well-being. So what is it that I can cut out of my life to help me, you know, concentrate on me? So yeah, for me, that's my experience. And like I said, I'm not a medical, you know, specialist, so I wouldn't say it definitely is that.
So did you feel like, you know, like you've described it as a mixture of like having highs and lows. Did you identify that you were having these low moments? And I ask you this question, and unfortunately, you know, most of these questions will be coming to you because I think I have had quite a different experience when it comes to motherhood. And so I, you know, when you talk about these highs and lows, and I think, again, if you're looking at it from a different, you know, from a different, that I had my child in Zimbabwe, and then I eventually came here, but I had that family support. So I never really felt anything besides, I don't know, I can't even describe what I was feeling, being a teenage mom. But you said, you know, the mixture of highs and lows, like, how, did you identify that this was a low moment you're having? Did it take you time to identify that? Or was it just more like did you find yourself more scared, like you're more fearful of like, oh, am I doing the right things? You know, was it a mixture of emotions, or, you know, was it just lows and highs and lows, as you said?
I could identify them because for me, it was like a very lonely time, to be honest, because like I remember even saying to my mom, I've never needed you like this in my life. So for me to actually even say that to my mom, it means I really could identify it, to say, okay, you know, these are my laws, you know, because you know you're a mom, Golly, you know how the first 3 months are. You're totally naked. You are not sleeping, and you just want you are exhausted. You're literally like a moving zombie, like a walking zombie. And I remember 6 weeks after giving birth, I lost so much weight, and it's because I wasn't eating. And you know, when people are quick to say, oh wow, snap back, I'm like, guys, what snap back? I am not eating. I don't have the time, you know, because I was just like constantly tired. So I could identify it because there were those moments where I was like really tired, and obviously when you're tired, it also works on your emotions. And I'd be like, okay, you know what, I'm exhausted. I feel it.
So Connie, like, so because obviously we're just having a conversation, like you said that your experience was different. So like, I'm interested, like how, and obviously like being in Zim, and I can only imagine, like you said, like being a young mom, like.
I think, you know, my experience was totally different from Notty's, in that I had my child when I was in my late teens, and you know, there's a whole discussion around teenage pregnancies and around teenage mothers. So like you were saying, Notty, when you're like talking about those highs and lows, it's difficult for me to kind of look back and say, oh, there was this high, like this joy or elation, because I carried a lot of shame. I carried a lot of guilt as well. Like, you know, like my family, you know, it caused a lot of rift or drift apart in my family. So I remember my mom being the central figure for the time that I had my child. In that, you know, everything that you're describing, Notty, is that when you're like, oh, I needed my mom, and you're like, my mom was literally that figure for me. I do not know what sleepless nights were.
Wow.
My child would cry and Gogo would come. Yes, she is. Or she would get me up in the middle of the night, kind of thing, and she would have had her for quite some time. The most precious moments I have, the most precious memories I have of my mom are with my mom and my daughter. When she was telling me things and she was teaching me things about Utuntano and Zoaso, Medumtonsi, Inyawo, Mielule, and all these things that you would have seen before, and you'd be like, oh, but why do we do that? The whole stretching and all this stuff. So my experience was completely different in that my child was my child, but she was also Gogo's child. So my granny, Tamara's, my daughter's...
Your daughter's granny?
My daughter's granny. My mom was literally this be-all, and she did the majority of things. And that support system that I had, like I even think back to the neighbors that we had, why Tandiwa, like I will not even lie, like the neighbor would even send for her. It to me like one of her kids next door. And through that I learned about the whole, like by the time she was 1 year old, she was already peeing in a potty, so things like that I would have never had any idea of how to do. So I think there is an element that support was I was really surrounded by a lot of people.
Yeah. But there's something about being in survival mode almost, right? Because I think what you've described is, I guess, the support that was there for the child. And when I noted, like you were describing, like not having that support, but I think the circumstances are sort of different. Because, well, in what you've said, I don't know how you felt. You haven't said how, because that's what I'm saying. Like it feels like you were in survival mode, and maybe you didn't have time to unpack.
I didn't have time to, when I gave birth, like, I can imagine when you gave birth, you must be like, oh my goodness, like my little baby is here. I mean, for me, it was like, okay, I've given birth, and, so what's going to happen now? How am I going to feed this child? So there was a whole lot of other questions. So it was a difficult time for me. And of course, like holding that child in your arms and you counting making sure that she's got all the right number of toes and fingers, that was joyful. But then there was a lot more going on in my mind rather than, oh, my baby is here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how have you found, like, so how did that affect like your relationships with others? So you said that you took some time away from social media to kind of really focus in on yourself. Did you find that did you have to explain to people that this is what you were doing?
Oh, not at all, guys. The last thing I do is explaining myself. Yeah, I mean, you know what, guys, people move on. Do you know? Get off social or die today and come back after 1 week, and people would have moved on. People literally move on. So at times we worry ourselves about the little things. You think you're off social media and you think people will notice. People don't even notice. People move on. So it's only the people who are really close to you who kind of like sense that, okay, lifestyle has changed, then they kind of check up on you, that are you okay? But the rest of the world, they're like, social media can be very like, things pass quickly. So they can't even tell that you didn't post today or you didn't. People just continue living their lives. So I never really had to explain myself to anyone, because my life kind of changed, and your priorities change automatically, and you really kind of don't have an option. You just need to get on with it. So I'm like, okay, I now need to focus on my daughter. I need to focus on me. Obviously not. And at that time, there was a time, obviously, when I was really like lost in motherhood. But after some time, I'm like, you know what? I'm still not here. I need to go back and find myself, because I'm raising my daughter. She's going to grow up. She's going to outgrow all my baby, the cuddling and all that. Where will I be there? Yeah, very quickly. So, and now this day she's a bit clingy because of the lockdown, so we spend a lot of time together. But there was a time when she literally just didn't care about me. I'll be there, and then she'd be like, you know what, mom, do your thing, and I'm also doing my thing. So you kind of have to, I think it's in phases, and at times you kind of need to embrace it. So for me, that moment I embraced it, because another thing that I've told myself, every challenge is an opportunity for you to learn something. And for me, in as much as then it was a painful process to go through, but I learned so much about myself, and also the resilience that I have and the people around me. So when I look back, I feel like, okay, it happened, but it's now hazy. You get what I mean? Because I kind of moved on. And, when children grow, they change each and every single day. So today she's a different person. Tomorrow, so you also just get rolling. But yeah.
Yeah. So I had a question about childcare. Mm-hmm. So how did you do it? Because I mean, when I've spoken to people, it just seems like childcare is just such a difficult situation. I mean, first of all, the cost, particularly if even if both people are not working, because people need respite and time out. How do people do it in this country? How did you do it?
You know what? UK is the piece of the piece when it comes to childcare. Because I think I look at my friends back home, they can afford to have, helpers at home. Yeah. And you have your aunts and your parents and your sisters. You've got all those people around you, But yeah, it's a nightmare. And also, I think you just get used to being with your daughter and working around them. But for me, I didn't work for a long time. Just taking care of my daughter, and also just trying to get back into that working space. Yeah. So before I got back to working full time, or actually started my career in the UK, because it felt like starting again, starting afresh. So I started off with the consultancy, just consulting from home. And luckily I did get clients here and there. Yeah. And then when I felt okay, I'm ready now, I started really applying for jobs. And luckily I did get a job that I love. And before the lockdown and everything, my daughter was going to nursery, and on some days I work from home. And also my husband, we both have schedules that work for us. So childcare is a nightmare, to be honest, but I think you just have to work around it.
Yeah. So did you ever so have you ever got what do they call them? What are they? Nannies? What are they called?
No. Yeah. I mean, for me, Nat, I've only been in the UK for just over 3 years. So for me, honestly, I'm still finding my feet, So for me to bring in someone into my home also, I think it's just too soon for now. So I think children grow as well. So she'll be starting also nursery, the 15 hours.
Does that work? So you get...
how it works is when they turn 3,
right,
they get government funding, 15 hours a week.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, but if you're both working, and but that applies for permanent residents, you actually get 30 hours,
Right.
So yeah, she's starting in September, and it's just a matter of working around it, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. So my sort of last, it's not a question, but so I was just thinking about this, right? Because you guys are moms. I'm not a mom. And so I was thinking about friendship dynamics, how that changes when you become a mom. Because Notty, you talked about losing yourself in motherhood, and then obviously Khumalo, interested in knowing at that time when you became a mom, okay, how important are friendships, and did the friendship dynamics change? Because I do think sometimes I notice a difference with my friends when they become moms. I think like you're there for them, but then you just assume that, okay, they're busy. And then later on, maybe you talk to them, they'll be like, oh, I conveying witty, like, oh, how come I didn't hear from you? And it's like, but I thought you had a new life. Like, So I'm just interested in the dynamics with friends.
I think I had a totally different experience, but I think it's important to, I have friends who have had babies and kids, and the close friends that I have, I do not necessarily, we don't drift apart, because I think even you, Notty, mentioned it before, that there's an element that you are still, yes, you're a mother, but you're still who you are. So you're still that person. You're still that person who has had those experiences, with the friends that you have had. You've had those conversations. People have shared things with you. You have shared things with them. So there's still that connection. But yes, you are now a mother. And what I feel is that as time progresses, when friends do have kids or they get married, yes, you kind of are aware with, there's an element that they might be having lack of sleep. They might not be getting enough sleep. They may be tired. So, but I still check in, hey, are you okay? We have, and you're aware, and someone will message and say, I actually just put little one to sleep, or I am just in the middle of this, so I have 2-3 minutes. I think it's important to kind of really mold that within the friendships that we have. Otherwise, people are at risk of, suffering in silence, because you have now taken that standoffish approach, or you have moved on. But people, as they move on, whether it's in marriages, whether it's in having children, they still have issues, and they will still want somebody to reach out to, and knowing that there is that some form of contact, whether it's not the same, you might not be laughing till 3 a.m., but it's just knowing that, yes, at whatever point I can message this person. I think that's, for me, is important.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you, Kali. You know what? You assume that your friend who has a child is busy with their child, but they're actually lonely. For me, I've always been that friend where people think, okay, I'm the stronger friend, I'm the strong character. So I've always been the one who's always reaching out to my friends. But then I went through a time where I needed them to reach out to me, and every time when you say to people, oh, you know what, guys, I'm going through this and that, people be like, but you're strong, how you get through this. But then at times you want people to, just listen to you and, cry with you, to say, oh yeah, my friend, you're really going through this, but you're gonna be fine, because it can get lonely. And also, I think marriage at times, I don't want to call it stigma, but I see a lot of this on Twitter to say married women this, mothers this. Guys, I am still naughty. I'm married, but I'm still, it's still me. Come on. You get married, but you don't wake up a new person, the next day.
Yeah.
It's still me. If you want us to go for a cup of tea, call me, we'll go. Just because I'm married or just because I've got a child, maybe in that way I'm pushing prema, that's the only thing that's changed. But I can still drink tea, I can still, have a glass of wine. So I think people always assume that with marriage or with motherhood, people change who they are. Yeah. But to be fair, it's still the same person. And I've always, ever since I had a child, when someone tells me that they're pregnant or they just gave birth, I feel like, calling them all the time to say, are you okay? I feel like always reaching out. And if someone is not my friend and I know the friend, I'm like, you know what? I just encourage them. Reach out to your friend, ask them if they're okay. Because you want that element of what because you're navigating something that you don't know, So you want that element of that comfort of something and your friends are what you know. But also the dynamics of friendship. I can stay a month without talking to some of my friends, but it doesn't mean I hate you or we've fallen out. Whenever you call me or I call you, we just continue from where we left off, because I think it's still us.
Yeah. No, okay, so you've said a really good point, because I just think maybe my perception sometimes is so maybe if someone has a child or has got married, and I think those two, it's kind of the same, because you just assume that, okay, they're at a new chapter of their life, right? Give them space to navigate that. And sometimes as a friend, you kind of feel like, well, this person now has a child. That's the most important thing to them now. Or they're now married. That's the most important. Me, now, when I say I'm now like, at the bottom. No, I'm being honest, right? And if you think about it, even at home, like culturally, we grew up with the whole like, when someone's getting married, sometimes they'll be like, oh, don't be friends with your single friends.
Don't say that. No, guys, no. That's red advice.
It is. And I think you're right. I think culturally that's where such conversations kind of derive from. Konokuti, somebody gets married and they come and you see them leaving the house. It's like, oh, so someone doesn't belong to us anymore kind of thing. And I think we really need to move away from that narrative, because it's from that very same narrative where people say that, you know what, if you're going through stuff, and that's why people are not in touch with their friends. Why should you not be in touch with people that you have had connections with? Because that's what friendship is. It's about you connecting with somebody over something, over whatever it is. And if you're moving away from that just because you're now a mother, or whether you're now a wife, that's what I'm saying. And I think now as society has literally unraveled itself, we recognize that people in these marriages, people who are newly mothers, have their own struggles. And it's at that point in time where your family might not be the people to reach out to you. Let your friends continue to be the support system that they have been. Because, just because I'm a mother now doesn't necessarily mean that I am not battling anorexia. I still am battling things that I was battling before, but I'm not battling anorexia, obviously. But, people still need that support. And I think we need to move away from that 100%.
Yeah. No, I think I get that. So I think the point that I was saying, like, I feel like maybe I'm explaining myself to my mother friends. No, it's because like literally, like maybe you'd be just like, oh, maybe you do get in touch with that person and then they're busy, and then you'd be like, oh, I need to be, like, you just feel like, oh, they're so happy, like they've now got their number one priority, right? So I don't want to be calling and talking about, oh my God, did you see on the Shade Room? Did you see what August and Jada said?
Wait. You are the first person to turn around and say, you know what, social media does not depict the way people are feeling. I may post my bundle of joy, your ovaries 10, but it doesn't mean that I am, yes, that is now my priority, but it doesn't mean that I am not suffering from something else. What if my husband is beating me up, but I've still posted that picture? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we need to, I don't know what your thoughts are, Notty, because you are.
And for me, besides even posting your bundle of joy and all that, I mean, guys, you know what? It's just social media, it's not a true reflection of how someone feels or what someone is going through. For instance, I literally wasn't posting anything, so there is no way you could tell that, okay, this is where Notty is in her life or whatever, And my motto is, if you've been my friend, or if you are my friend, you'll always be my friend. Whether you get married, whether you divorce, whether you have 4 kids or 5 kids, Mina, if you are my friend, you will always be my friend. Yeah. I'm not a kind of person where I say, yeah, I fell out with my friend because of that. Guys, there is nothing that cannot be fixed, honestly. And most of the times, usually, okay, what, Kholi?
No, carry on.
So for me, it's really a matter of just reach out to your friends, honestly. Just because I'm not a new person. I am definitely not a new person. It's still the same old me. I've just maybe, I've entered a new chapter in my life, but it doesn't mean all those other chapters are closed in my life. Yeah.
So reach, Natasha, don't use it as an excuse.
No, just don't. No. But do you guys understand what I'm saying? Right. And also,
it's just an assumption, to be honest. I think it's just an assumption. And it doesn't make it better also, because I've seen people, they post, would you marry someone with a tattoo? Would you marry someone who has this? Would you marry a wife who goes to club? Would you marry, guys, like, okay, I'm going to respond to these things, but then I clearly thought, okay, I'm not even going to engage such thoughts because what's the thinking behind that? In as much as we can say it's culture or whatever, but I think even there are people besides the culture whatsoever on social media, just people who would think, okay, hello is very modernized, who still say things like that. Like, what does that have to do with, marriage or whatever? Yeah. So I think at times it's just assumptions, guys. It's just assumptions.
Natasha, when you have your babies, no, I'm not going away. I'm sorry. Now I'll still be calling you, man. Now I'll still be calling you and saying, Natasha, when are we recording? When are you putting little baby down so that we can have 30 minutes to record something?
No, don't get me wrong. I totally get you, right? But I think it's just that, like, because sometimes you just think that, maybe as a friend, my role is no longer as important to that person.
Oh no. You know what? Like anything else, friendship is a relationship, guys. Relationships evolve, Just because your friend has entered another chapter, it doesn't mean your friendship has ended.
Yeah.
Evolve, just like relationships. Because our relationships evolving,
Yeah.
Maybe that's their way of ensuring that their relationship goes on, instead of it ending, it evolves. So friendships, like relationships, evolve.
Yeah.
So my child, not really, it's not a little child, came obviously came not so long ago, and I noticed then, like, I guess what you're saying, Nat Xolie, relationships, maybe there's some people who are like, oh, she's a mother now, let me leave her. I did notice that there were people who, like, I had obviously a different lifestyle to what I have now. I'm trying to be a lot more homely, trying to set something, like to be home, spend time with my child, and stuff like that. But I did notice that some friendships I had, obviously, we drifted apart, or maybe we grew apart. And in as much as I appreciate that, maybe they're saying, let's give them time to bond and all this stuff. I miss them. I miss, like, people just hanging out with people, because yes, there was a point in time when I was like totally engrossed with my child, and then I said, this woman, does she not have a life? And I miss that. I miss having just crazy conversations with my friends, where you just, like, you put your mother self to one side, and you just talk about crazy shit, and you just be like, oh, do you remember that time we did this? And you just like, and I miss that,
Did your daughter train you now, Xolie?
Yeah, so she joined me, I'd say, is it a year, 2 years ago?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
When I first met you.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was us on our bonding sessions. I was like, come on, let's trip out to London.
Nice. I wonder, like, how is that experience for you to not have lived with her for such a long time?
Yeah, it was really, it has really been challenging. I left her obviously when she was still quite young, and the plan was to kind of have something for myself so that I could have something for her. Yeah. I didn't quite understand this at that time, because again, I was also quite young, and I left home with quite a lot of responsibility. So I came here, and I knew that I couldn't be like the next person. I knew that I couldn't be like, my fellow Zimbabwean, in that I had a child at home. I had to do better. I had to do well in school. I had to work. I had to work hard. I had to do extra shifts when I could, so that I could send money home. And because from the time she was born, she was literally I was all she knew. I was all she knew, and the surrounding family. And, we were really close. I used to fall asleep with her as time progressed. I remember I would, I didn't do that. I used to hold her, and I used to sleep with her, like, on my shoulder, and would sleep afternoon naps. That was the way we slept. And my mother used to yell at me. She was like, but that's the sort of relationship that we had. And of course, the next thing was we were apart, and I didn't quite understand what was happening. Even when I was saying goodbye to her, I didn't quite understand the magnitude of what that meant. So it was a loss for me. So coming here, I had to adjust to a lot of to the culture, to the society, but I also had to adjust to not being a mother, not because at home that was the forefront. I was even being called to, like my mother used to make it a point to kind of thing, as in this is who you are. Like, don't forget, yes, you're young, but you're still a mother. And then you come here, you're like, who? And they're like, who are you? And I can't be like, oh, I am somebody's mother, because that somebody is not even there. So I had to kind of push myself and read, like, okay, so this is who I am. So really, going through, it was very much highs and lows. Like, I went home probably within 2 years of being here because I missed her so much. I used to call like nearly every day, just to hear her little voice. And we moved from her calling me like mama, to being like, you know, I guess even just
call you now.
Calling me now, she calls me, you know, everything under the sun. No, she's not rude, but you know, it just changes. And even when I went home the first time to see her, you know, there's a very fond memory that I have of her back home when I used to come home, because I actually had to go back to school. And I was coming back from school, and she would come running for me. Like, how she'd even hear me, she would come running to the gate, and I'd run away from her. My first memory going back home was seeing her, and she was on the swing, and she looked at me with she probably didn't even recognize me. And for me, I'm overwhelmed, like, oh, now I'm Tanami, and you know, I just want to squeeze the life out of her. But you could tell that to her, I was a stranger. So, and I think that stuck with me, and it made it a point that I needed to do more. I needed to go home a lot more often. I needed to call home a lot more and try to build that relationship, which is what I did my best to do with, I guess, you know, very limited resources, because you're not able to go home every month. So it was once a year, we call home, and then she started going to school. It was only, I guess, when she entered her teens that she kind of really started turning to me. So she turned to me for stuff, turned to mostly for money. So you know, it was like she was a Western Union baby in that. And you know, it's navigating that guilt that I had, that, oh, you know what, I'm not there, so I'm going to give her whatever she wants. But our relationship has also evolved, you know, and I see it more in the last few years. That she has just really kind of turned to me, and I have really turned to her, and she's such a joy to mother. Same to Malami, you know. I ask for money, she takes me out sometimes. So guys, it's nice.
But well done, Mama. I think we don't say that enough to each other as women, or even as moms. And I remember when my daughter was turning 3, I was feeling so emotional. I was so overwhelmed, you know. I'll just look at her and think, you know what, one thing my daughter has taught me is that I am enough, you know. Even as much as I did it, I felt like, okay, am I being a good mom? But when I look at her, I feel that, you know, I feel that joy, and I feel like God is telling me that, you know what, you are enough, you know. You're enough for her, you're enough for yourself, you're enough for the people around you. So I think we don't tell each other enough that, you know what, well done, Mama.
No, well done, Notty. You're doing really, really well. Well done. Obviously, because I know Ukoli a little bit more, and I spend more time with her. Like, I just want to say, I'm so proud of Ukoli. Like, because I have been there since the beginning, in the sense of since her daughter came, right?
You have.
United. And I have seen just the difference. And, you know, like what we talk about, Konoku, you know, this could be another episode, really, you know, like what we talk about the Western Union babies, being a WhatsApp parent, and the fact that, you know, like Koli, you were saying, when you left, you probably thought, oh, maybe a year or two or whatever, either I'll come back home or, you know, she'll come. But then the severity of the situation at home just leaves a lot of people, you know, like that. And you were young. So I'm really proud of Koli, because like she has Oh my God, Notty, and we came with Xolie's daughter to Leeds, right?
I remember.
Right?
And when Xole said that's my daughter, I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, oh wow.
You used to time flies.
No, and the thing is about Xole, like why I'm so proud of her, because like it's such a difficult thing to navigate, right? Being reunited, right? And like you said, kind of like, yes, you have that relationship, but it's like Western Union baby, what's up parent kind of thing, right? And then now coming back to being in the same space and like, you know, like then you kind of wearing like your mom hat, like at the forefront. And I just think like it's been really beautiful to watch. I'm extremely proud of you. And the thing is, anyone who meets Xolie's daughter, like if you think Xolie is impressive, like this girl is like at times 100. So for me, that's like it's such a reflection on Xolie, even like the investment that she's made in her daughter, you know, like sending her to good schools and everything. So well done. I want it to be on record. Well done.
Thank you. That is.
And well done to you, Nat, for being deputy mom, because you guys are always together.
Yeah, for sure. I tell you, yeah, we really are.
Also, the transition for her, it must have been hard as well, because we are so Kulilanti, and you know, she didn't grow up here. You know, also for her getting to understand the culture here, because I feel like I am getting ready for so many fights as my daughter is about to start school. Because in as much as she was born here, for me, she's African, she's Zimbabwean. I remember, yeah, that's the truth, guys. I remember having this argument at work when someone was saying to me, oh, so much your daughter was born here, so she's English. You know, I literally tell them like, no. It's like, okay, it's okay. But I really wanted to get that. You get that, okay? In as much as you were born here, girl, you're African, you are Zimbabwean. So I feel like I'm getting myself ready for so much identity crisis issues, even at school. You know, these days we talk about racism, you know. So I'm wondering how it's like for your daughter who came here as a Khulile, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, everything will have its challenges. You have challenges, like you've mentioned. The benefit of us, like right now, whether we are mothers or in marriages or in relationships and friendships, is that we have got such access to information that we didn't have before. You know, we have a language for things that we didn't necessarily even know of before. So there is, and I've said to my daughter thousand times that, you know what, you need to speak to somebody at some point, you know, because yes, there are challenges that she will face. There's things that we talk about, and I make it a point. You know, I am that annoying mother. If there any opportunity is a learning opportunity. And I just talk criticism and the things that I didn't hear from my mother, but I've heard from, you know, from whether it's social media or things like that, that as a Black woman, you need to work hard. You need to work twice as hard as the next person. These are things I say to her. These are things I say to her that, you know what, you will meet people out there, they're going to treat you differently because of the way your surname is spelled. And she sees it, and she comes home, she's working now, and she'll tell me, oh gosh, you know, this and this happened. And I'm like, okay, so you see, so then we have that conversation. So, and I mentioned it again, I think in our last episode, you know, it's about having conversations that are sometimes uncomfortable even for you, because I feel like sometimes I'm such an introvert, you know, I'm very free amongst my friends, but there's things with her that I'm like, oh gosh, I really don't want to talk about this, but I force myself out of my shell and like, let's talk about this. So I think we are in a good position that we have access to books, we've got access to other people, you know, and people now have access to this podcast to actually hear what it was like for you as well. So, you know, it's just about touching people in different ways, I think.
And I think the point, Notty, that you were saying, Uti, like, how do we, because we've talked like in the past about this illusion of inclusion, you know, this identity sort of thing, like how do you can't even say guard against it, and because the truth is their experiences will be different because they're born here, right? But our expectations of them will also be different. So I think like you said, you know, we have these spaces that we are creating. Hopefully that's one way that we can share information. But like what else, guys? Because I know what team, I know like going home often is a thing, but now with this new pandemic world, like, when will we go home? But also like, what are there like schools? Like, I know, for example, there is an app, right? That but I think it's Shona, like where like kids can learn Shona. I don't know if there's like a Ndebele app. I know like there's a kid's book. There's a kid called, what is it, Towavuga?
Oh yeah, Towavuga. I've seen that as well. Yeah.
We should start the Ndebele app. You know what, guys?
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. I think Ndebele Tutor, she does. I've seen her on Instagram. I haven't seen her on Twitter as well. And she does like some Ndebele lessons. So she focuses on words, on a word a day or something. I'm not too sure, but I've seen that she's doing, or she or he is doing something. Is doing something. So I guess it's like plugging into these things. People are also recognizing it. You know what? Ubuntu is important. Your child, if you want, can learn. You can teach them. They can be bilingual. And I think you see more children now who can maybe not necessarily speak, but they can understand, like using Ndebele or Shona, whatever it is. But I think it's doable. We can do it. Yeah. That being said, I don't know having a young child in the house, but I can't even. Yeah, because I have seen Ndebele, and then if I'm putting on my mother voice, Ndebele comes very quickly.
Yeah, I think also just speaking to them, in Ndebele are cool. Even if they get to a point, because obviously school will kind of overpower you at some point, because they'll spend more time at school and you'll be at work. But at least if they understand, what you're saying, and like you said, going home, visiting home more, because all they need to know is children want to belong these days. And I think a lot of things come from belonging, and in as much as we say, I don't want validation, we're humans, we want that validation.
We do, 100%.
And you want it from your people. So I think being in touch with, a lot of your people, and
So can we switch the conversation just a tiny bit to the mother, like what we got from our mothers, or were we like, I'm interested to know, like, even from you, Nat, like, do you feel like you've been adequately prepared to be a mommy? And I was looking for this poem, basically. It's a poem by Philip Larkin, and it's called This Be the Verse. So it just kind of talks about how our parents kind of instilled in us their fears, because these fears were instilled into them by their parents. So I'm interested to know, like, what are we passing on to our children? Do you feel have you been prepared for motherhood? And this is a question also for you, Nat. Like, what sort of things did your mother maybe?
Yes.
What sort of things did you feel like you got from your mom that you would want to pass down onto your kids? So I'm going to read it very quickly, and just to get your guys' thoughts on it. It's got a swear word, so I'm not going to say the swear word, obviously. It says, they F you up, your mom and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had and add some extra just for you. But they were effed up in their turn by fools in old style hats and coats, who half the time were soapy stern and half at one another's throats. Man hands on misery to man. It deepens like a coastal shelf and gets you, it deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as early as you can. And his advice in all this is, and don't have kids yourself, because you are at risk of passing on the faults that you received from your parents to your children. So, like, what do you guys think about that? What do you feel like you've been prepared for?
Cycle.
Yeah. How do we break the cycle of things that you maybe learned from culture, from society, and stop that from passing on to your children? So that's too many questions.
No, it makes sense. Do you want me to start? Or okay, let's hear fresh ideas from Nat, please.
Okay, Natasha.
Yes, there are too many questions. No, but I think it's true. Like, it is true. You are, because you can only pour out of what you have, right? So if you are a parent, that's what you're pouring. You pour, what you have. So yes, like, we are products of our parents, and then later on maybe our environment and just other people that we meet along the way. But I think it's an interesting one, because human nature, for the most part, we want to leave a legacy behind. Like, you want to have kids, right? Like, so one of the things that I have been thinking about, like, is that desire a selfish one? Because like if you think about what's happening in the world now, you're like, yeah, like, this is what I want, but will this person be like, yo, you could have just left me alone, not in this earth?
Do you feel prepared for it, though, is the question? Do you feel...
Okay, so I think we've had a conversation about this before. When I've spoken to people, I don't think anyone can really, really be prepared to be a parent. And I think it just happens. However, I think even recognizing self-awareness is the first step. So even when you recognize your weaknesses, you're prepared for anything.
Right.
And I think that's the good thing about the age that we are in now, just like, in terms of just the time, and even just actually like being like our actual ages, is because we live in an information age. So like you said, there's language to things that we did not know, right? I think what maybe people's approach even to kids is slightly different. Some people, it was the whole, like, the child is not is seen, not heard. You don't think about the child's feelings. Parents don't apologize to their, you never had like, oh, I'm really sorry that I did this to you or whatever. But we're learning all of this. But again, in 30, 40 years time, there'll be new things where people turn around and they'll be like, our parents were so angry because our parents were posting us online. My bio data was now used for this. You literally, you have no control.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think like what you said, Nick, I think nothing can really prepare you 100% for motherhood, because also people's experiences, they differ. So I think for me, what I learned from my parents, I think I learned a lot from both of them as a team, because they were different. So my dad is like a very soft, gentle soul, and he was all about, my mom was the type of but my dad was the type of so I think that balance, I learned that there needs to be a balance when it comes to parents. And at times, my dad would discipline us, and then at times my mom will always, obviously, So for me, I learned about that balance. Too. You could say, okay, you need to balance, and you need to work as a team, because also, the father of the child, also he brings what he learned from his parents. So you are all coming in with, different teachings from your parents. But like what Nat said, I think is when you recognize the weaknesses that you have, it will make it easier for you, because you quickly identify them to say, okay, I don't want that. And also when you recognize the weaknesses that your parents had, you quickly see that, okay, I don't want to do what my mom or dad used to do, So I think it's just a matter of balancing it out. And for me, I want my child to be able to talk to me about anything and everything. For me, I think that's the most important part.
Did you get that with your mom? Is that something that you like?
No, I only started getting that with my mom when I was grown up, but I remember wanting so much to talk to her about certain things at a certain age, but I just couldn't, So when I think of that, it really makes me so conscious to say, okay, I want my daughter, I don't want her to be 14 and think, okay, I can't talk to my mom about this yet. You get it? I want her I want to be the first person she comes to. I wanted to always know that. Even if she's going to ask me something and I say, what's that? But I want her to have had come to me first. So for me, I think that's very important, especially now when we live in an age of social media. Kids are learning so many different things, and they've got access to a whole lot of things. And in as much as right now I can shield her from a lot of things, I can shield her from social media, I can shield her, from a lot of things. But as she grows up, I won't be able to, shield her all the way. So I wanted to see something out there and be able to come to me and say, Mama, I saw this, or what do I do,
How about you, Nat? Like, what sort of things did you learn from your mom that you'd want to pass on to future generation?
I think that's a tough one. To be honest, my mom was quite progressive and she was really ahead of her time. To the point that, like, I think when I was young, I didn't recognize that because you were used to, like, the traditional stuffy kind of moms, and, like, that's the model that you saw. But my mom was, like, really, like, she's quite progressive in her thinking and everything, and I'm appreciating that more now, right? As I'm growing up. But I know one thing she always used to, like, I always think about it, but I guess it's more maybe like advice, like, for adults or whatever. Like, should always be like, if I'm debating or like impassioned about things, she'll always be like, no, you can never be absolute in anything that you're saying. Like, because there's no absolutism in everything, right? So you can't say this is how this is. No, you have to, like, break it down, like, okay, this is how it is at this moment. Or so, like, even like when I'm debating people, I always, like, keep that in mind. Like, you can't be absolute because you can change your mind.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one.
Oh, okay, that's nice. I think for me, my mom was she was literally a rock for me. And I think that is something that I definitely want to pass on to my child, for sure. Uti, you know what? No matter how bad things get, there is one person I could always turn to, and that was my mom. Like, I tell that woman saved me. She was, I can't even. And that's one thing I remember. And I try to emulate that in my relationship with my daughter.
Can I ask, when did you guys realize you were turning into your mom? Like, is there, like, any example that you're like, yo, I'm my mom?
Yeah, for me, I've noticed it ever since I have moved to this flat. I tell you, my cleaning has gone up. My mom was a clean freak. 6 o'clock on Saturday or Friday, so we go clean stupu. And I used to hate it. And but this is me now. I am cleaning the windows. I am on the it's bad. I was chatting to my little sister and I was telling her, I'm trying to get my child to get into the cleaning, and it's not aligning. And she was like, "You're turning into a mama, like, seriously." How
what
about
you? Not?
For me, guys, no, obviously it's still like 3. I think so. I don't have many memories of when I was 3, but I think my mom has always been an early bird, like your mom. My mom would just wake up at 4 for no reason, like no reason at all. She'll be up at 4. But the only difference is that I wake up early, but I don't wake anyone up.
Yes, okay.
I come downstairs, for that me time. I have my cup of tea, or I catch up on a TV show, or I watch news.
What time do you get up?
It depends, honestly, but I've always been an early bird. I don't struggle with waking up. So even 6 o'clock, like, some people think 6 o'clock is late, or something. It's a bit
Unprovoked, civilly.
I'm provoked, guys. I'll wake up at 7, also because I love reading a lot. Like, but now I don't have time, because when I'm reading, my daughter wants to take the book and write. So I think that's the only time, and I can actually, like, read a book or something. So I just wake up and I just do me.
Yeah.
And my mom she'll just wake up and do her.
How about you, Nat?
For me, I think, okay, so my mom was, like, a people person, like, but and she got things done. So she's the type of person who, like, for example, when we're here in the UK, and she'll be on the phone like with people like in Zimbabwe, and then like someone used to laugh with, you know what? What's this story I say UK? Our plan is go Bulawayo. So maybe like people will end up meeting, like she'll organize meeting. So I find like I do that a little bit in my way. Like I find like I connect people. I was like, yo, I'm telling it to my mom. Like, because I remember someone was like, wait, because they asked me to do, they wanted something to be done in Zim. And I was like, no, I know someone. So then I was like, yo, and then people sort of say that as well. Like, but like I said, when I was young, I did not appreciate it. But then now, like, I see it and I'm just like, oh, okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I think just for time, should we maybe just round up? And we wanted to have like a bit of a fun section. I think this is kind of more like for you, Notty, because it involves like eating children's snacks and stuff like that. So I want to ask you just a few questions. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No.
But also, like you can answer, Natasha, if you would eat your child's snacks. I remember, like, you know, the blue Cerelac, the Cerelac not the blue Cerelac, the Cerelac that was in a blue box. Do you guys remember that? Was it in a yellow box? The original formula for Cerelac.
Yeah.
Yellow.
It was yellow.
Yeah.
I tell you, I used to be like 2 spoonfuls for Tamara, 1 for me. You know, that was the tastiest thing. Like, I think that's only like stopped me from I'm not kidding. I actually ate that stuff. Like, there's times I'll actually go and make it into a small pot in a small cup and have it. It was so good. So, questions. The first one is actually, have you ever had a snack and denied eating it?
Guys, she's still young. Well, so I'm not sure about denying. I've had her food. I don't have to agree or deny at this moment. But yeah, I had it.
And have you ever like pretended, like in the middle of the night when maybe she was getting up at night, have you ever pretended to be sleeping so that the other half can get up?
Yes, the other gender must wake up also. But you know, to be fair, Juni's always, you know, Lapa UK, I think it doesn't even give you a chance, you know. Both of you just know that, you know what, we need to do this.
So how did you do it? Was it like one goes in a color, then the second time is the other person kind of thing? Do you take it in turns?
Yeah, but not really rotate, because when she was still breastfeeding, obviously it was always me. But then afterwards, when she was now, you know, taking the bottle, you know, it became so much easier because he understood that, oh, you know what, she's tired. Let me just let her. And at times when I could tell that, you know what, this guy, he's awake also. I don't know, like I'm sleeping. You need to take care of yourself at times, guys, because look out for yourself. I'll just pretend I'm sleeping.
And I guess like the last question is about how do you keep it? How do you keep time for him as well?
For the romance.
Guys, the romance will just always be there.
Yes.
The romance will always be there, but I think at times you need to put a conscious effort to say, you know what, I need to keep this going. In as much as we now have our daughter, because she kind of centers us, because you've got this human being that you both love so much, and so in as much as we meet so much through her, there is also us as individuals, how to make time for each other. So back when life was still normal, at times when we're both off, and the nursery is open, take it to nursery and just have the day for each other.
That's nice.
And you know, at times with kids, obviously they can't stay up till midnight. You know, you put it down 8:30, and you know, okay, this is our time to just chill. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to make the time.
Yeah. No. That's good.
Wow, that's been amazing, man.
Solid advice.
Solid advice. Get your child to sleep early. 6.
Yeah, but you know what? Also, I'm not that mom or routine and stuff because I think it puts unnecessary pressure. I wouldn't want to tell a new mom that to say, because I remember being such a Google mom at some point. Okay, put it down at this time. She should eat at this time, you know, and that it was so stressful. So I think at times you just need to roll with the punches. On days when, you know, she's failing to go down, even if you put it down at 10, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put that kind of pressure on moms to say, yes, a routine is fine, but on days if it's not working, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. You need to survive. It's just about surviving the day. So yeah.
Okay, last one from me. Would you guys do this? Okay. So I have how should I phrase this?
I feel like this is naughty, Ned. What are you saying?
No, it's not even. No. So would you so I know some people who once did this. Okay, I know it's bad, but so the child was, I think, 4 or thereabouts. So the child kept so the child knew that their birthday was in a certain month. And then they kept asking, oh, is it my birthday? Is it my birthday? And then the parents lied to them because they were waiting for payday.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So would you do that?
Yeah.
It was funny.
Guys, come on.
No, it was funny because I was there and that, I don't know, maybe the child, like, on their birthday, I feel like something in them knew. So they kept asking, is it my birthday?
No, like, not today.
No. Wait for payday.
I'm going to say no, but for now, I don't think I'll do it, but I'm not going to say no. Maybe one day, you know, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'll be so broke on that day, and then maybe I'll have to postpone it. But I hope she'll understand. I hope I can tell her that it's your birthday today, but we'll celebrate it on Saturday, something like that.
We celebrated it the next week. It was like, no, today is now your birthday. It was so funny.
If that works, then good for them.
But I think you can't get away with it after 5, especially like when, yeah.
Because they have you counting down with them to say, okay, mom, my birthday is in 3 days, and then you're like, okay, 2 more sleeps, 1 more sleep. What my niece does to my sister, like, okay, how many more sleeps to my birthday?
Oh my God.
Literally counting down.
Yeah.
So she knows.
Yeah. No. Thank you both. It's been a really good conversation. And I hope we can like have another conversation, because I think there's just something about, you know, especially navigating being a parent like in these abroads.
This abroad.
Yeah. And I think sometimes because we are, you know, kind of like maybe still young or plugged into what's happening, you may think you know, but actually, you know, these young people, like, they're into stuff that you know, you don't even know.
Yeah, so true. It's so true. Like, literally, there's stuff that my child will come and she'll be like, oh, this. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I knew that already. But yeah, there's a lot to learn.
Exactly.
As they are. I mean, even Ubusha now, no, she's learning how to talk, and you know, kids watch TV a lot. You know, she'll say things to me, and I'm like, she's like, Mom, what you doing, Mom? I'm like, where did you hear that from? So from a young age, you know, they are learning a lot from TV, and you can't run away from it, because at times you're working and you just need them to watch TV when you're doing something in the house, and they're actually learning a lot of stuff.
No, definitely. So definitely we are continuing this conversation. So guys, so Notty, where can people find you online in case they wanted to just engage with you on some of the stuff you talked about?
You can find me on, I don't want to say Twitter because you'll DM me and then I won't see it for a week, guys.
So don't DM her.
Oh, you can
only
just
add her.
No, you can just you can DM me, it's fine. But But yeah, you can find me. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. It's not like, yeah, I'm not a celebrity or anything to say don't DM me, guys. You can even ask for my number from Nat Xolie.
Okay, yeah. So people can find you on the social medias. Yes, and guys, again, if you're watching on YouTube, please comment below anything that you think, like, how's your experience been, like, what tips do you have? If you're listening, please join the conversation on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Please hashtag Gallons, guys, so Tony, Notty, and I can see the conversation and we can, keep it going, because it's definitely not a one episode conversation. And I'm really happy that I had this, because I thought, like, not being a mom, I won't have much to say or get from this, but I've learned a whole lot. So thank you to both of you for really being open. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, that was great, Notty.
Can I laugh now?
So once again, thank you to the sponsors of this episode, BulawayoGroceries.com. So yes, guys, if you want to buy groceries for people in Zim, you can just go on BulawayoGroceries.com. I hope they have a mask.
Do you know? I looked. They don't. I didn't see, but I definitely saw it though.
Okay. Cool. Whatever it is, but yes, guys, go on BulawayoGroceries.com, and it's our first advertisement.
I think it feels good.
Yes, so thank you. Abantu beBulawayo Groceries. But yes, guys, BulawayoGroceries.com. Thank you.